I'm 62. I started working out at the age of 14. I started competing in bodybuilding at 16. I competed and won Teenage California, Teenage America at 19, Mr. California at 22, Mr. America and Mr. Universe at 26. And continued. I won Mr. Universe a second time at the age of 59.
Wow.
3 years ago. I'm competing again next year in the Mr. Universe for a third time. And I'm the author of a book called The Physics of Resistance Exercise, which explains the biomechanics of resistance exercise.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on a long career. You know, there's some people that do that and they last for a few years and then they're done, but to maintain it over a lifetime certainly speaks to, knowing what you're doing, I suppose. As far as, and I guess this is the thing. So I'm like you, I started lifting weights when I was 13, 14 years of age. I'm 55 now and I've been doing it. And I never was a bodybuilder, but I've always been an athlete. And of course I valued weightlifting as, or strength training as part of that. I think that helps you protect you and makes you a better athlete. But what, I guess what got you interested in wanting to do bodybuilding in the first place? This is a early 1970s or something, I'm guessing, right?
Right, 1975, 1974. I was just really skinny. I've always been an ectomorph and I wanted to get bigger. And in 1974, weight training was not known as a weight builder. I mean, my thinking at the time was if I wanted to gain weight, I've got to eat a lot of junk food. Mm-hmm. And my junior high school coach said, no, that's not the kind of weight you want to gain. Even if your metabolism allows it, what you want to gain is muscle weight and you need to do weight training for that. So I got a weight training set for the home. And then I was lucky enough because I was living in Pasadena, California, and I happened to be living 5 blocks away from Bill Pearl's gym.
Mm-hmm. Rest in peace. He just passed away.
Rest in peace. Yeah. He was my mentor. He was my father figure. And I went there and I said, listen, I really want to work out here, but I can't afford it. And so I'm wondering if you'll allow me to work for you in exchange for membership somehow. And he goes, yeah, come on in every weekend, every Saturday and help me do some janitorial work. I'll still pay you, but I'll let you, have membership. And so then he became, sort of my mentor and guided me. And I started competing at 16 years old.
Interesting. And have you, well, I guess, that's, some people call that time frame the golden age of bodybuilding. There was different aesthetics as opposed to today where everybody just gets as huge as possible. And, it's kind of I don't know what your thoughts are on how bodybuilding has either evolved or de-evolved depending upon how you look at it. But, you mentioned that, and the research certainly shows this. I mean, you're not going to put on muscle unless you do the strength training. I mean, that's just, and so, back then, it's kind of common sense type of thing. But how did the nutrition, how was the nutrition back then versus now? Has it evolved anything or had they already figured it out back in the 70s?
Well, back then, Albert Beckles and all those guys were just doing chicken and rice. Yeah. And sometimes you'd hear about, some people doing meat and water diets. But more often than not, it was low carb diets or low fat diets, one or the other. And I remember buying a book. You probably remember the book called Eat to Win, Robert Haas, which of course is really outdated now. I mean, he talked about simple and complex carbohydrates, which of course are terms you don't even use now because now we talk about glycemic rating and things like that. But, as well as I could sort of figure out, I was better off eating complex carbs rather than simple carbs because complex carbs break down more slowly, quote unquote, and simple carbs, that's actually not true, right? You can get a simple carb that breaks down slowly, and you can get a complex carb that breaks down quickly. And nobody was talking about insulin back then or anything else. So I would say that most of us who got shredded, and I was pretty shredded when I won the Mr. California, sort of did it because, in other words, it wasn't the most efficient way, but there was enough calorie deficit to get you lean. And so I just used a really zero zeros. I was so paranoid of eating fat that I wouldn't even take vitamin E capsules. So 0 fat and also obviously low calorie. And then throughout the years, you heard more and more about, the different options, keto and things like that. What happened for me somewhat recently was I needed to have back surgery. I'd herniated a disc, not severely, but enough that I needed to have it repaired. And they want you to do a pre-op, and so they found that I had high cholesterol, 290, Interesting because it's the same diet I had been using all along, which was the American Heart Association food pyramid diet. I was eating, carbs, starches, pasta, bread, rice, potatoes, and a very, very, very small amount of dietary fat. And all of a sudden now I've got high cholesterol and high LDL, low HDL. And it's sort of interesting because cardiovascular doctors so often don't know how to eat right. And so they're saying to me, make sure you eat low fat. And I'm thinking, there's something wrong with this because that's what I've been doing. So I don't know if you know Jeff Feliciano, but he's sort of like the Dan Duchesne of the 70s.
Okay.
And he said, well, the reason why your numbers are crazy is because you've probably been following the American Heart Association diet. I said, yeah. He goes, stop that. He says, jack up your fats, cut out your carbs, cut out your starches. I want 40% of your dietary calories coming from fat, 30 from protein, 30 from low glycemic carbs. Do that for a few months and see what happens. And sure enough, after a few months, my cholesterol had gone from 290 to 138.
Wow.
Proving that we make our cholesterol. We don't eat our cholesterol.
Yeah, well, then that's not. I mean, we know that the liver makes approximately 80% of our cholesterol, and maybe more or less depending upon what we're eating. But sure. So, you'd been on a low fat diet for decades, I guess. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah, decades until my 50s when my metabolism started to not allow it. In other words, I could get away with the mistakes because my system was healthy enough to, adjust and fix it. But that isn't the right way to eat.
Well, and many people would say, well, because you're obviously working out hard. If you do a competitive bodybuilding, you're training a lot, you're training hard, you maintain a good body composition. You're probably by definition fairly insulin sensitive, and so that may allow you that leeway to eat that way. But then it eventually, at some point, catches up. I think it caught up with me in my early 40s when I noticed that, hey, this is not the right way for me, and then I had to start changing my diet pretty profoundly because I was walking around at 280, 290 pounds for 20 years. I'm 6'5", so I'm a pretty big guy, and I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore.